Spiketember is continuing, folks. That's right, we did Do the Right Thing the previous week, and that movie left such a good impression on my mind. I'm like, this is incredible. This is from an incredible filmmaker. What a great movie, a great time just experiencing film and cinema and seeing the way you make something intrepid and cool. And for the next film, we are venturing into the 90s. So I'm like, guess there's a couple movies we could talk about in the 90s. We could talk about Crooklyn. Crooklyn would be a good one to talk about. I'd love to talk about Crooklyn. What about Malcolm X? Oh, I'd love to talk about Malcolm X. Nah, I decided let's talk about one that not a lot of other people are going to talk about. An often forgotten one by our man Spike Lee here. Girl 6. This is produced and directed by Spike Lee. And way to really come off of a high, you know. This is a weird movie, and not in like a way where I'm very excited about talking about it. I genuinely don't really know what I want to say about this movie because it's truly just not interesting to talk about. I think every single action that is being taken in this film, right down to the script, right down to the directing, feels very standard. It doesn't have much interesting things to say on its part. But it is Spike Lee, so occasionally, like, a thing's gonna come up there. You're like, ooh, this is a good camera choice. You're doing, like, your signature shot where it looks like people aren't walking, but they're moving forward towards the camera. And that looks pretty cool. But the rest of this film, oof, is it rough? And I don't really like it. You're probably not familiar with this one. If you are a fan of Spike Lee, it's probably the forgotten one. This is not easily streamable. I was kind of excited for this movie. I didn't know anything about it. And I saw the poster. I'm like, this is kind of fun, you know? Spike Lee movies have like an invertent sexuality to them where there's like something kind of sexy and steamy, but it's never like openly portrayed that way. He likes to hide it behind other things about like the message or just really good camera tricks. So him working on a movie that's like directly about like phone sex and sex workers and stuff like that. I mean, I never consider him like a sexual filmmaker. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but he presents more like a nerdy filmmaker, you know? Where I don't think like Scorsese is that like that either, and I don't think Spielberg is like that either. That's how he presents to me, like one of those guys that knows how to move a camera. And maybe like the other stuff, like writing a female character or like presenting a female character is never their strong suit. And that's more prevalent here than ever. So this movie stars a woman called Teresa Randall. Now you might not be familiar with her because I'm not. I don't know much about her career or what she did before or after this, but she is living in New York. She's an up-and-coming, talented actress or some capacity. She wants to make it big in Hollywood. And throughout this movie, we're going to have, like, moments where we go inside her mind and see her envisioning her reality in, like, cinematic ways where it's like, ooh, look at me doing, like, a Tennessee Williams play of, like, my crazy boyfriend/lover. Or we're going to do, like, an episode of The Jeffersons, and people are going to try to tell me how to live my life. It's very stylistic and very weird, and I don't like the tone of that for this movie. It does not work for what this movie's trying to do. It doesn't destroy it, but I'm like, are we really doing another like cutaway to like a bit? I say bit loosely. I don't think it is a bit, but it's like, really? That's what you want to do right now? And in order to make money, because she's a struggling actress, she takes a job at this phone sex company. And then the movie is that for the majority of it until like the last little bit where she gets too attached to like a client and then starts to like want to develop relationships more, brings the work home with her and kind of loses herself in it. It's very weird. It's a very weird story to tell, and to tell it like this. We're in the 90s, so things are going to be presented a very specific way. And this movie knows that, and it's kind of having fun with it. It really, and I don't know like if anybody involved is like weird in like a very specific niche in their kink or whatever. I'm not kink shaming, like what you like. But this movie treats every kink or every fetish like it's silly and it's funny and like it's stupid to like things different. I don't know like what it's trying to say here. There's definitely like this energy about the film that like women don't enjoy sex as much as men, and men are like weird, perverted, horny assholes who are stupid and can't tell when they're being lied to. And I don't know why that's in here. I don't know if that's the message that's getting across. But just in like the meetings where we have like all the girls sitting at like a table and they're just talking about like, ooh, what's this persona? What are you gonna build for this one? It feels so lame. And then we have a lot of sequences where we're just listening to the girls like talk on the phone, and we're just listening to them like put on the accent, put on the voice. I guess in that sense, like the character does say, like our title character does say, it is like a type of acting because you're putting on a performance, so it is honing a specific craft. But I feel like, I don't know, how do we want to gauge this? This is always going to be like an industry and a job that's going to be presented with like a certain derogatory nature to it. And I don't know if like even in the 90s that was like something we wanted to see. I don't think this movie like props up the industry of like phone sex or sex workers. I don't think it is helping present that in a more positive light. I think it is making it sound like these girls are just ditzy but self-aware in their ditziness, which I guess gives them agency and some more power in that. And maybe Spike Lee's not the guy to handle that. Maybe you give that to a different director or a different creative team to do something more with that. Because he's kind of sexless in some stuff, and I think you can see that here. Like, it's very specific in what it's doing with all that stuff, and the girls are having fun and the guys are stupid enough to get off on it or whatever, but it is very confusing how it is handling some of that. It's not really great. It also has like a classic 90s polish to it where everything's got a distinctive like color palette and gloss, and it's just like bright and bubbly in like a weird way, and you don't really know why it's bright and bubbly, but it is having fun in that capacity. Now, Teresa Randall, she's doing pretty good here. I do like what she's asked to do. I think she can portray a lot of different emotions. I think it is very interesting how it wants to talk about Hollywood through her as well. As like, this is something that a lot of black women have to go through, is like being degraded or berated for like things and being called like snooty for not wanting to do certain things. This movie, if you can't get the metaphor, this movie opens up with Quentin Tarantino telling her to take her top off because his new movie's all like edgy and stuff. She's like, I don't want to do that. That's not how she's going to get her big break. And then at the end of the movie, after events happen where she like fears for her life, after like a certain client figures out where she lives, she said, I'm actually going to move to LA, make the big break. And then she goes into another office with another director. Who's the director? I think it's Ron Silver. I think she meets Ron Silver when she goes to LA. And he's like, all right, take your top off, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of... And you're like, okay, I get it, Spike. You want to talk about the industry. We're going to have like a sequence where like, you know, they're going to be filming a movie and all like the actors, part of like the SAG union, are just like, they can't take a break because I don't care about SAG rules. We get it. We get it. I don't know. There's better ways to talk about this industry than how this movie presents it. But I don't know. It's not that interesting. I think it could have handled a lot of stuff better. Like, it treats the fetishes like a silly joke, and to these men it shouldn't be a joke, but at the same time it's like a weirdly dark comedy, so I guess it's fine to handle it with like that type of like lack of brevity or whatever. I don't know. Like, I was just left thinking, this is it. This is what we're doing with this script. Everyone wants to be with this girl. She has like a next door neighbor whose name is Jimmy. He's played by Spike Lee, and guess what? He collects baseball memorabilia, mainly just like, you know, trading cards, and he's like, I'm going to sell these in 20 years, get like really rich, but I guess I pay for my rent now or something. She has like an ex-boyfriend who is like the father of her child? Is that what it is? No, she doesn't have a kid, right? They were married, and I think they're not together anymore. And they kind of hook up sometimes, and he kind of like hates what she does. And I think there's a really interesting scene with him where they're going out to dinner. She puts on like the fake thing, and he's like, whoa. So when they like start walking home after that, he wants to put the moves on her, and she's like, you think just because I do that it's like gonna put me in like this mood, or thinks I want to be with you? Like, that's like my work, that's what I'm showing you. And that is very interesting. That is what this movie should have explored more of, is talking about like how you put on this facade or this fantasy for the men, and that suddenly makes you submissive to them, but it doesn't, and that's how the men perceive it. Like, that is the angle it should have played with more. as opposed to just like random stuff it's doing where it's like, hey baby, I'm driving down the 401 or whatever, I'm gonna pull over and we're gonna have like a talk and conversation and we're gonna like do stuff together, like that stuff. I don't like that stuff. The Jimmy stuff is weird. It's just, it seems like Spike likes putting himself around beautiful women. Can't fault you for that, dude. I 100% get what you're about with that. But this is not the movie where you should talk about the industry. I know you talk about it in other stuff too, in different capacities, but this one, it just doesn't work. It doesn't come across as naturally or fun as you want it to. There's a reason this one's forgotten, and it might just be because none of the like women are written really good. And the cameos, they are kind of interesting, but you're like, okay, you're just getting all your friends in here, your New York friends, your LA friends. I understand what you're about. And aside from Teresa Randall really handling herself in this whole performance, there's really not much to go off of to really get your footing. It wants to talk about sex work. It handles it the way like a 90s comedy would, with very little respect or dignity to it, and kind of treats both sides of the argument as a joke, the people using it and the people that work there. I don't know if that's genius. I know it's not. I don't like it. But if I was around in 96, would this have made me laugh? I don't know. I wasn't really laughing through it either. I was more like, okay, I see the beats. And on occasion, a cool Spike Lee, like, filmic moment would happen. And that's not enough to carry this for me. We really ended this one on a low note. I hope the rest of Spiketember can pick up and we get something cool happening. But Girl 6, the surprising one I didn't know what to expect, well, didn't work for me. Not a very good movie, unfortunately. But maybe it is for you. Maybe this is like the type of comedy you want to see these days. Or maybe it's not. Either way, it's not much of anything. So that's going to do it for this episode of Spiketember. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.